Another day in paradise, which marks the start of a brand new video for you, a brand new day for me. Let's go and see if we can finish getting this bathing platform back into place. Right, the job gets more challenging because it's almost impossible to find any of my stuff. I've got one steel plate completely covering the bench, and this one preventing me from going under because it's just too much of a risk. It's been all right overnight, but I'm still not taking any risks. Don't want to be underneath this. That would be life-changing. So I found a scrappy old disc on here. We'll make do with this. Hopefully this should do the trick. So I'm just going to cut a line this corner off here, and hopefully I can humph this over the lump. If I cut it too low as I'm cutting it, it might slip and move and I might get in the way. Okay, let's go. Oh, no power. That's a nightmare. Oh no. We've damaged the wire to the grinder. By we, that must be the royal we, because I mean me. So luckily, this was easy to grab. It's a 9-inch grinder, a little bit less wieldy, but we'll use that. We can plug it straight into the side here. Oh! Oh no! Oh. Right, sketchily, I've had to traverse the cave of doom to get in here. I did put some support posts underneath. It don't fasten very tight, it's not very level, just in case. But that was a hairy moment. But anyway, on this side's going to be more of a challenge because we've got this exhaust still in the way and there's a lot less space in here. And I can't get the disc off the 9-inch grinder, and I can't get to the grinder key because it's buried behind that other steel. So you make do with what you've got. But anyway, wish me luck. I'm actually wondering whether this will move without cutting it. Let's just give it a try. Oh, that's looking encouraging. Oh. Just slides back down though, doesn't it? Oh, that's the exhaust getting in the way. So now we've got this support post in place for safety and security, I can finally take you into the tunnel of death. Right, last part then. Hopefully we can hoik that over this bit here. And, yep, then we're kind of in place. Get the gloves on. Right, do I have this manpower to do this? I'm still here. You're fastened to the steel. That's the reason you went for a bit of a ride. Last bit. What's your face, Sean? There we go. Whew. It's a big bathing platform. I think we've overcooked it a bit, but we will be cutting it down. Let's winch it up and get some support posts in. Oh no, too fat. Right, the first thing I want to do is just remove that security strap. Was a bit tight, causing a little bit of grief. Let's get that off. Oh, scary. Okay, we'll leave it loosely connected. So here I am, enjoying my swim platform, as most of you call it, bathing platform to me. Yeah, like it up here. Get my sunglasses on. We've got blue skies. Well, it's a blue roof. A man can dream. Right, while I'm up here, I just need to remove some bits and pieces. We've got a few electrical cables that look like they're getting trapped. Chris Torrey, super legend. I've got to be really protective of this brand new lens, and I need on the lens a lens cover because the last one's completely ruined, but they're all hidden beneath that steel. And luckily, I've searched the van and I think I've found one, an unopened packet from, I don't know who got it, but it's from my Amazon wish list, whoever it was, thank you very much. Lifesaver, got one here in this packet. I'll just get that on and then we can get on with the day. Got a guest coming to see me in a bit. Right, there we go, screen cover on. Let's go and get some work done. When I left yesterday, I crawled up onto the top and pulled out all the plugs for the lights because I can't get to any of them. And now I've got to try and get back and see if I can get the plugs back in. But it's pitch black in there. Let's see if I can jig up some lighting. Oh, doesn't seem to actually do anything at the moment. Right, it's unplugged. Let's see what we can do. Oh! Set the alarms off now. What happens here? We've got some light going off at the back. That's not going to help. What's this then? Right, that's given us some light. It's horrible LED lighting. Now I've got two jobs to do today. I've got to trim this steel down. We're not sure just how big we're going to make this bathing platform. We intended to make it slightly bigger. Not much, we're talking about a few inches, but just to give us slight more real estate because we're still thinking about this idea of putting steps in here at the back. And I wanted to eye it up and give me an idea of what looked right and what felt reasonable when it came to extending it. Now it's in, I can see it's quite a bit longer. Maybe we could have chopped some of it off before we lifted it up. But it's in, but now I've got to look at chopping this, but also inside the tunnel of death, this other piece of steel really is getting in the way. And that is the actual transom, which is going in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a measure up, and we'll also cut some of that steel here into two sections, and then we can move this forwards and I can get back to my workbench again. So that's my next challenge. So part of the challenge is finding stuff at the moment. I found my tape measure, that's an important thing. I really want to find, oh, battery's going flat on this. I really want to find my gloves because my hands are freezing. It's been cold and the steel's cold. But I don't know where I've put them. I think I've got a brand new pair in the van. I might have to go and get those. Right, let me go and get some gloves and get another battery for the light. You can see me and I can see the job. Right, brand new battery. I don't know how much charge is in it because it says it came from factory. It can't be on the charger. So let's, boom. Let there be light. Let's put that there so it doesn't blow out the camera too much. Right, next, another pack of gloves. Thanks again, Jonathan Gould. Ah! Oh, Amazon wish list. Hey, nice and bright. Keep my hands warm. They take a bit of bedding in. They're always tight when you put them on, but they soon bed in and they become beautiful. So, really awkward in here. Let's do some measuring. Okay, so this plate's probably a little bit bowed. I need to go above and just check the tolerances, but it's about 80 or 800 mil, 80 centimeters. So if we say 900 mil, gives me an extra 100 mil. I'm fairly sure we've got more than 100 mils worth of tolerance, but I'm going to quickly have a squiz above and check that out. There is a bit of a gap, but there's less than 100 mil there. So I think 900 will be fine. Right, so the edge, 600. So let's say we make that 700 mil. And we'll just check it's the same the other side, just in case. Right, same here. 600 is about the same. So 700. So I've got some measurements, some rough measurements, and I'll make it oversized. We're going to keep the guillotine edge of this steel behind me at the top to go up to keep it flat, okay, under the transom. And then we'll roughly cut off the top here and then maybe we can move some of this steel around. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. We've got a visitor. Who's this? Come in, you can get in here, Aid, because you're quite small.
Squeeze my way in. Oh, you're on film today, are we?
We're on film. So we've got Aid from Aid's workshop. You remember he came down not too long ago, helped me take these rudders out. Aid's made me some beautiful little brackets, some braces to go on the stern here, and he's come to have a look at the job.
What is it, the swim platform gone up?
No, it's the rain shelter.
Rain shelter, yeah. Maybe the bucket will become redundant.
Yes. So during all the fun and games of shifting the steel around is damaged the wire on here. It was a good job I unplugged everything. As I said, I kind of knew some of the wires would get butchered. But this one caught me by surprise. I didn't put the grinder away after I'd been using it. So I could repair that, but then you end up with a dodgy repair. What I'm going to do is just put a new plug on the end. It's quite a longish cable. It doesn't be as long now. Cut that off. Yep. The wind started getting up. It's howling under the boat. It's freezing. Comes right here, blows right up your kilt. Anyway, we're nearly cut out. I've left a little bit in the middle and little bits at the edge because I just want to make sure I'm out of the way when these are cut, because there's a risk for the steel sliding down and chopping off toes and things like that. Two parts of the steel. The top bit is going to be the new transom. The bottom bit is going to actually become part of the side of the boat. And I want this bottom bit to be stood up against the bench and this top bit to be stood up against the stern of the boat. So this bit needs to slide over the top of this bit, bearing in mind that when I release this bottom bit's going to drop back further onto the bench. So I'm going to just try and get something underneath here, if I can, just to flex it to make sure it falls the right way, because I don't want the top falling backwards, otherwise I've got a trauma trying to swap things around. Well, the lead to the grinder was about 4 inches too short to get to the end, and I lopped off about 10 inches doing that repair. So I've handicapped myself with the lead. Anyway, not to worry, I managed to get through the steel. That's a bit precarious there, but through the steel and plug in into the sockets back there. Right, so for some reason I got enough flex on that to get that steel in for the steel to slide down on that side. On this side it's not. What I'm going to do now is just release the bit in the middle. It's secure at either end. If I release that little bit in the middle, then hopefully I've got enough flex to be able to get a sheet of wood or a sheet of steel underneath it. Right, that seems to have done the trick. Let's see if I can get some wood under there. Right, I'm going to cut it, release it here. Hopefully that'll catch it, stop it from falling down if it does decide to fall. There's a fair thick cut on that end, so I'm fairly sure it's not going to flex very much and shouldn't be a hazard, but we're just going to be a little bit cautious and a little bit careful. So I'm going to cut from here. What you didn't see is I just moved it and that bit's dropped backwards. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a chain on this just to pull this up to stop it from bending and distorting the corner of this steel, and also making sure it doesn't fall flat on the floor, because I think that'll be harder for me to pick up. The problem with walking in here is if you look, the bottom of that is almost the same angle as this, so you end up walking on an angle, which is difficult. If I could just get some real estate on the floor to stand vertical, it would be much easier. Fairly soon though, hopefully we should be able to move around. I've had to exclude you from a good part of the video because the battery went flat on the camera and I was trapped in it and I couldn't get out, not without putting myself at risk to get the battery for the camera. I'd have to clamber on top of this steel and well, I could have undone all the work we've done. What I have been doing, I'm on my iPhone at the moment, so I hope the sound quality is not too bad. Once I lifted this up to a certain angle, I found my other chain block, which was underneath, and I fastened that to there, this chain block to here, and we've kind of been winching it vertical. The more vertical it gets, the less effort it needs, of course. That was my worry, was it dropping flat on the floor and then really struggling to pick it up because I don't have anything much overhead to lift it up. Right, I'm going to keep going. I might have to do a little bit of manhandling. I've got to shift these about. I can't get my battery yet, so I'm ever so sorry. I'll see you in a bit. So this is where we're at the moment, completely obstructed. I'm on the outside now. I did clamber over there. A bit of a hazard. Watch your head. So there's a glove protecting that corner. We need to shave that corner off in a bit, but let's get on with this. We're in a bit of a mess, so I really need to get sorted. We've got a temporary light, and you can see how we're all chained up. And the issue we've got is, as we've lifted this up vertically, it was further over there. It's kind of slid this way a bit. It's made it really awkward now for us because this has now slid under the back of the boat. So, and I've got to get this steel back up to the bench, and this steel here needs to come and just be fastened up underneath the boat for the time being. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to pull the bottom of this in that direction. So it looks like we'll be doing a little bit more chain blocking from here to pull it this way, almost in place. So the worst part about this being fat is, gosh, getting myself around things. This is a bit of a challenge. It was one thing getting out because I could push this as I came, but going in, that bends the wrong way. Oh, God, I seem to be smaller sideways than I am front to back. That's no good. Chunky monkey. I'm on my knees. Not much headroom. Next job I'm going to do is make myself just a couple more lifting eyes. The more the merrier. Different technique. One of our followers told me just to cut this into a square, cut it diagonally, and then just cut a little notch inside. You'll see what I mean. Too ugly. Lifting eyes. I have to be a little bit careful. I've got two of these chain blocks at the moment holding this into place. This has the potential for falling down. So I kind of am in the danger zone, except we've got a bit of reinforcement and security here with two chains. What I'm going to do though is I need to get this chain set off to do the pulling. And that leaves me one, which will do the job, but makes me feel a little bit nervous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that rope there, tie it to that lifting eye that we've got here to act as belt and braces. And that's the reason I left it on and made some new ones for here. I think the more lifting eyes I leave around the steel, particularly if we start getting into a bit of trouble, the better. So let's tie that on for security and then get this chain set off. Right, so you can see this is where we're fastened on with the chain block. I did start with this, but I ended up having to come back here because we ran out of chain space. If I can get this off, we can use this to secure this plate, just in case we have any mishaps.
I just wanna hold you. I just wanna look.
So if you remember, that's the transom of the boat down there. And as I move this steel forwards, that steel, the transom, wants to fall flat on its face. And that'll be awkward again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use that spare lifting eye I've got, just weld that on there, and we'll use that for the time being just to secure that smaller piece of plate to the boat, and then later we can dress it all up, fasten it up there securely and keep it safe.
Every time I'm down, yeah, you make me smile. You're the solution. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. I wanna hold your head. You're everything that I desire. Every time we touch, we get set the world on fire, world on fire. I wanna hold your head, you're everything that I desire, I desire. Oh, every time we touch, we get set the world on fire, world on fire. I just wanna look into your eyes. You know you make me feel like I'm alive. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. I wanna hold your head. You're everything that I desire. Every time we touch, we get set the world on fire, world on fire. I wanna hold your head. You're everything that I desire, I desire. Oh, every time we touch, we get set the world on fire, world on fire.
I've been doing some measuring. I'm good at measuring. I've been measuring up this bathing platform. A few of you said in the comments, why didn't I use a template and then hoik up a smaller piece of steel? And it's a good question. The reason behind it is I'm not 100% sure why, but was because I've got delusions about making the bathing platform a little bit bigger than it was initially. And I wanted to see what it looked like in situ. Give me an idea cosmetically what I thought would look appropriate. Now that it's in there, it looks very, very large. It's a big piece of steel because the width of the boat is just under 4 meters wide at the stern. And so I bought steel in 4 meter by 2 meter sections. That's the sections that the steel comes in. If you have a look, there is quite a bit of excess in 2 places. One on the bathing platform here, as you can see, we're quite large there and we're not going to be using all of that. But also the bit we cut off the transom, 2 pieces of 4 meter wide steel. And we've got plans for those. They're going to actually go in here, 4 meter long strip that will go in these sides. Because if you remember, the sides are rotten at the bottom at this place where this channel's been collecting water, but they're also rotten behind here at the top. And rather than doing patch repairs in at the top and patch repairs in at the bottom, I'm just going to replace this whole section of steel. The weld will go somewhere around here, and that will be covered up with the weld where this rubbing straight goes in. So this will be a new piece of steel. And I've got a piece to do either side, which will be 4 meters long. That's going to go from the transom 4 meters down forwards. Hopefully we can get rid of all this rotten steel section, because everything above there is reasonable. Added to that, rusting away under here, some flash rust on there, didn't get the oil everywhere, I oiled the bottom. That's going to be the new chine. New stern, new bathing platform, new transom, new chine going all the way forwards and new sides. That's the plan. So what we need to do now is free the steel from the back that you told me I should have done first. Maybe you're right, who knows? But it's my project, I do it my way. We've got to release this steel now and get this down safely and stack that up against there, ready to use. But before I do that, let's get some more supports above our head to hold this droopy piece of steel up, because I've got to climb aboard. To know just how much to cut off the back, because I'm going to cut the minimum off so we can make our minds up about how big we want it later. I'm just going to measure up just how wide the steel needs to be lopped off the back. 4 meters, which sadly doesn't bring us to this hole, so we'll be needing more repairs, no doubt. Let's just measure how tall that is here. And that is about 600 mils. Not very wide, is it really? I'll just check it doesn't get a bit wider in the middle. Yeah, it does a bit. 620 mils. And at the stern, yeah, 620. So cut here because once these chains are on, you can't get the grinder in, so they're in the way. So I planned ahead for a change.
Well, we nearly had a little accident. Look at that. Can you see that? That's from the cutting wheel. So slight slip, straight across my finger. And it just nicked the skin. Which just goes to show you, if I hadn't have had these leather gloves on, I wouldn't have been able to count to 10. Right. Anyway, don't cry over spilt milk. Nothing in life is safe. Next job on. The idea behind this then, if you can see, is we've cut it out, but I've left a couple of areas not completely cut out. The weight of the steel now is making it sag down in those areas. So the idea is I'm just going to glance across the top of the steel where it's still fastened. There's 3 places, 2 at either end and 1 in the middle. And hopefully it'll just start to drop down itself and then will eventually break if I don't cut through it. And then it'll be dangling by these chain blocks and then I can lower the steel down. That's the plan. Wish me luck.
I just wanna look into your eyes. You know you make me feel like I'm alive. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are, you are. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are the solution. You are the solution.
I'm stuck. That was a monumental task. We've done well though. 2 pieces of steel stored and saved, ready to go on the side of the boat down here. Bathing platform in, lethal edge. Need to get this dressed and trimmed up, and this whole area needs a blooming good tidy up at the moment. But that's not for now. That's for another time, because right now I'm going home. But anyway, till the next video, thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe button, hit the hype button too, and the bell icon. Leave us a comment and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.